People can complain about this game, call it trash, call it dead, all of it, but in the end, this is your player base a decade after the game launched. Steam only, by the way. And if you analyze the Steam charts for a while, you're going to realize something that it's not going anywhere. It may seem like the player base is dwindling from 2020 to the current year, but that's not true, because everybody was playing video games during COVID. Pretty much consistently, it's shown that when the devs want to make a hero that really sells, like Magi, like Ocelotl, and like Warmonger, the game can spike to 10,000. When we look at its competition, it's like, wow, for a medieval fighting game, For Honor is actually doing pretty well. I'll give it the half sword for being a really innovative game that seems to be hoarding a lot of players at the moment, but is it here to stay? Because there's something about For Honor that's never mentioned, and I think it's like 80% of the reason why it lived so long and why its competition never manages to kill it. And all these other games have come and gone. YouTubers can make videos about them, hype them up to be big deals, but in the end, they never make it. Or they do, and then they dwindle in popularity until they become what Mordhau is today. And I think this knowledge sits on the back of everyone's minds, but never truly comes to the forefront unless it's directly pointed out. Before I explain what it is, you just look at some gameplay trailer clips from all these games. In theory, they all follow the same medieval fighting game aesthetic. Some of these can be following realism to a T, and some are leaning more into the blatantly fantasy magic style. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly what I'm talking about. The raw factor: coolness, personality, hype moments, and aura. Realism can be the appeal of a lot of these games, and they certainly have their following, but in the long run, none of them have as much style as For Honor does. This game contains a perfect balance of realism and fantasy. Visually, armor is exaggerated, weapons are exaggerated, animations, voice lines, everything is made to be cool. And when you play a character and you like it, it feels like the character becomes you. You are the Raider main, the Warden main. Their personality seeps into you, and in most cases, you can make your Warden look as realistic as possible, or as fantastical and angelic as you want. And the Steam page's current trailer makes this clear. There's so much variety in characters, and then on each and every one of them, you can customize their looks so much with emotes, effects, and executions to make them as suited to your style as you want. And then you have hero skins, which just grabs that concept and makes it outrageous. There's customization in any of these other medieval games, right? But in the end, your character is always going to look like a variation of this. Thanks to For Honor leaning a bit more on the fantasy side, it's simply going to appeal to a broader audience. Me personally, I like my Conqueror looking like a rough, worn mercenary type warrior with efficient, getting to the point executions, and my Griffin looking like a red demon Power Ranger with a huge weapon that fights brutally with fire effects. This is also partly why Dark Souls is so popular. The default gear looks like this, and you can play as this the whole game with a normal knight moveset while still being perfectly efficient, or you can say, well, I want the biggest weapon in the game. Boom. Or I want to throw a Kamehameha. You got it. The most popular games are the ones that allow freedom of expression, and in this one you can literally be almost any warrior from the most prominent fighting cultures in history. Games that lean too much the other way also get into this problem. I know Monster Hunter is a good series of games. I know it's an insanely popular series, and I am fully aware of its quality. But I just don't like how the weapons look. They look stupid to me. They're way too big, the blades are weirdly shaped, the handles have a strange length, they have a bunch of useless, weird details all over. And no kidding, that was the sole reason I didn't get into Monster Hunter. But then I look at Mordhau and I'm like, damn, I really wish there was some more flair to this. Oh wait, man, I wish I could just be an awesome knight with a big yet somewhat realistic greatsword and maybe have a little bit of magic here and there. Hold on, Elden Ring lets me do that. See what I mean? Most people, like us, I feel want a balance. A balance between raw and cool, but keeping it somewhat grounded. Like a lot of games nowadays spam you with bright visuals and particles and explosions and all that. I don't want that. That's too much. But a catapult, I'm fine with. Sohei getting a cool little fire effect when his souls are filled. That's fine. Characters turning into Super Saiyans when they get revenge. Well, it's only for 7 seconds, and it's rare, so again, it's fine. Even if there was a character with a fire sword, if that was in the form of a feat, I'd probably be cool with it. In fact, if it's done well, I think people would even like it. There's a game on the horizon. It's called Ad Mortem, and it looks like it's going to strive for that same balance of realism and fantasy that For Honor is kind of known for. Obviously, a bit more into the fantasy side, but You look at the armor and you look at the weapons, and, it's not that far. So if that game's really good, and they can hold up an audience for a long time, that might be the one game that I can see doing some kind of damage. But at this point, For Honor is so old, and the community will always be there. One of the pros of having an old game like For Honor, that's like a decade-year-old, is that the people who have played it have probably been there for a long time. So they're going to be a little bit older, they're going to have a bit more of an attention span, and they're probably fine with taking breaks and coming back to the game every once in a while. Even if you stop playing for some months, you'll be back. Even if you stop playing for years. Oh, For Honor released the Spartan hero? Sign me up. Like, how many of you right now, if you happen to be taking a break or whatever, would you come back if they decided to release your personal favorite character? And don't bother saying no, because I know you would. That's why it's a shame that they keep shooting For Honor's popularity in the foot, releasing these lame-ass heroes. Like, please, can we just get this? Let's be real. Like, let's be perfectly truthful right now. If Ubisoft decided to release a Spartan, or another heavy armor knight with a great shield and a mace, or an actual proper Zweihander, and hype them up with a cool CGI trailer, the game would jump to 10k easy or beyond. There's no doubt of that in my mind. All they have to do is want to make money. But yeah, the point is that no other game can match For Honor's style. The combat in this game just looks way too raw visually, and even when you drop the game for a while, the fact that you know there's going to be constant updates brewing in the background, it keeps you on the lookout at the very least. And it's almost like every season they're adding some kind of new system or feature that helps to modernize it. Say, cross progression, photo mode, a new UI, and more. The only problem is that updates are slow, but at least they're consistent. You always get the feeling that the game's fresh, that there's always new things happening. Cosmetics, game modes, heroes, and even maps. For Honor has the advantage of money, visual appeal, age, and a loyal player base. And I tell you what, For Honor could get to be so much bigger. But for that to happen, the stars would have to align, so to speak. First, there need to be a consensual agreement by the community that For Honor is a good game. Nobody wants to get into a fighting game with bad rep. Second, you need hype. A lot of hype. Because that's the only thing that can reach mainstream appeal. A mainstream audience. New players. Basically, you want your average Joe to go like, what's this? For Honor? That game's good now, apparently? I might give it a try. And you need content. Lots of replayable content to keep even old players interested. There's only two ways something of this caliber could ever happen. Either they add a new permanent game mode, probably 1v1v1, paired with a very anticipated hero like a martial artist, heavy knight, or Spartan, make sure that everything is balanced, and find a way to reduce player frustration as much as they can. Maybe even rebrand For Honor slightly with better tutorials to make sure that those Steam reviews go up. Get a bunch of big YouTubers on it, pay them to make videos to reach a broader audience. Or you do what Lords of the Fallen did, or what Chivalry did, and you make a sequel. The problem with the sequel is that For Honor already looks good. It's not a game that looks dated, and it's got tons of content already. So making a sequel not only will not be easy, but you're also going to have trouble moving the old player base from one game to another. Although I guess if every For Honor YouTuber starts playing the sequel for video content, then I guess that's where the player base is going to be. But either way, it's very dangerous. Your best bet is to reform the current game somewhat, then add better long-form content for players who put thousands of hours into the game, like say better rewards for reaching rep 70, 80, or 90. The potential is there, you just have to reach it, but regardless of what they do, so long as the updates keep coming, in my opinion, For Honor is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere.